20 years ago I started riding on my small Kawasaki KLX 250, and I quickly realized that standing is one of the most important skill sets that you need to have when riding off-road. Standing improves not only the visibility, but also the handling and the balance of the motorcycle. Now here in our beautiful Romania we have tracks that you could ride for 6 or 7, 8 hours off-road, and from this 6 and 7 hours off-road, minimum 3 you should stand up. The tracks are difficult and you should stand up. Now imagine standing after 3 hours, you end up being very tired on the original motorcycle foot pegs. On our motorcycle market there are accessories that when initially it came up they were a breakthrough. Like for example the bar risers. When they first came up, everybody loved them, everybody bought them because it improved the comfort and the position on the motorcycle, especially on those big and small adventure bikes. Nowadays, everybody is taking them for granted. When you buy a motorcycle, you just don't even think about this. Behind the conception why and how the engineers thought about it, and you just buy a set of bar risers. The accessory that I want to talk to you about today is in the same way on a breakthrough. It improves the comfort, the handling, and the balance of the motorcycle. And those accessories are the twin pegs. Now what is twin pegs? First of all, twin pegs is a Norwegian company. These accessories are produced in Europe and they're not a huge corporation. They are a very small company, owned and developed, invented by an engineer and a rider. And it's such a wonderful thing that the owner and the inventor of twin pegs is a rider. Most of the accessories that we so much love today, and they have a huge success, are designed by riders. For example, the most Komodo luggage. I am working in the machining industry, and I know a thing or two about quality, precision, and the manufacturing of metal parts. Just take a look on those beauties. Take a look at the quality, take a look on the chamfers, on the curves, take a look on the angles, the fit and finish, the metal treatment of the material, and the overall aspect of those accessories. In my opinion, they are top-notch, high-quality, machined motorcycle accessories. They are basically an extra set of foot pegs that will come right under the heel of the rider, helping thus to create a platform. In this way, the rider feels more comfortable, in control, and can balance better the motorcycle when riding off-road. The question is, can they become the next bar risers for our motorcycle industry? I don't know the answer of that question, but let's install them. Let me show you what do you need to install them, what is my procedure for the KTM 890 Adventure R, and then I will test them and tell you all about it this summer. Stay with me.
Now what I recommend you to do next is to make an assembly for the left and the rear twin peg. Just a dry assembly, just to get you familiarized with the bolts, with the sequence in which you have to install where and when. Let's do that. The first thing we need to do is to identify all the components, all the accessories, and I put them on a piece of paper, white piece of paper, identify them by size. So each screw with the corresponding size, grouped one next to the other if there are more. Same with the washers, nuts, and everything that you have in the package. And after that, with the table of contents from twin pegs next to you, you start by identifying and by noting them. For example, A, foot peg surface, 2 pieces. it's this one, and you put here A. Okay, B, grab screw 12 pieces. 12 pieces is this group here, and you put B, and so on and so forth until you've identified and noted all the accessories from the kit. At the end we should have something like this, all the screws and components identified according to the table of contents. Notice that I left out the spacers, and I will tell you at the end why. Only the base ones I've put it here and I've identified, because this is the one that I will start with, the installation. Now we always have to keep in front of us the schematics of the installation. Take the right bracket. So you have to place it as it is in the picture, right? With the unfinished straight face towards us and the finished face at the exterior. This is the right bracket. Okay, just let me put this a little bit up. Good. Now what we need to do is, this big space is the space that will hold the actual foot peg of the motorcycle. This is the space that will hold the twin peg. Okay, let's start with the screw D M10. We will put it here, not all the way, because we need to introduce two spacers O M10. After that, push it a little bit more and introduce one R spacer here, and then you can screw it. Everything screws very lightly, very nice, very tight. You don't have, if it feels wrong, don't continue. You're doing something wrong, because everything should be by hand. Now turn the bracket to you and you will see two screws. In these two holes, sorry, we will insert HM6 by 10 millimeters, and this is a very clever, ingenious design to keep the main bolt D, the M10, from going out. D will be threaded, this one will be not threaded. Now we have this, the spacer R, the two spacers O, and the main bolt D, with the securing H bolt M6. Okay, now we will continue, and we need to put the screw L, which is this one, M8 or 65, starting from the outside towards the inside. It will look like this, washed. Then we will take the spacer Q, this is the taller spacer, insert it and put one nut. One N nut. Okay, now to the foot peg, to the twin peg itself. Let's take the mounting screw, which is the I, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is the I. That's M8 by 70 millimeters. Okay, and put it here, but not all the way, because of course we will need to put, as in the picture, a spacer, the J. Let's put the spacer. Good. Now take the foot peg and, oh sorry, the spacer went out, and insert it here and push the screw with the palm of the hand, but not all the way, again, because right here on this side we need to put the spring. Now be careful with the spring, because it has two ways to go in. The first way, if you put it like this, it will go very easily, but it will not have tension, it will not be pre-tensioned, so it will not work. So you put it like this, okay, with this ends of the spring coming out, no problem. And then you apply pressure inwards and push the screw inside and begin to thread it into the bracket. Again, this is very easy, don't force it. If it's not going in easy, you're doing something wrong. The same like this one. This one has an H screw for protection, for not going out. Okay? The I screw, the I screw, this one, I, the M8 screw will have thread lock, this one will not have thread lock. Now the last part is to put this little very nicely done plate here and to use one of the screws C, letter C. This is 6 by 25, and you will notice that you have two types, 6 by 25 and 6 by 35. Well, this is because if you choose to put spacers, you will need higher dimension of screw. I will not start with any spacer, I will start riding without spacers and then build my way up until I feel comfortable. So I will use two C screws, 6 by 25, to secure the plate, and after that the end will be to put these small fixating screws with Allen keys. There are 6 per each plate here. Be careful that when you screw it in, it creates tension, it will push into the foot peg, and if you want to remove this plate, firstly you need to remove these 6 small screws and then the two 6 by 25 millimeter bigger screws. After, if you go all the way with this main fixating screws, if you turn it back, it will come out. After testing, after riding, if this is the right screw for you, you can trim it to be at the same level with the twin peg. This is how the right twin peg should look like after installation. The spring is working, it has tension in it, and everything looks fine. Do that with the left one, it is the same process, the same screws, spacers, shims and nuts, and you will be perfectly fine. You will be familiarized with the installation process. Alright guys, so we have them assembled, left and right. Now it is time for us to go ahead and install them on the motorcycle. We are going to put Loctite on them. We are going to install and then torque the screws to the specification indicated by twin pegs. So let's go ahead and do that. Now the first thing that we need to do is to remove the original foot peg, and in order to do that we need to decompress the spring. This is the spring of the foot peg, and I used 2 zip ties and a set of pliers to put them together and to zip tie them together to decompress them. Now they are moving freely, and then we just have to remove this safety pin again with the pliers. As I said earlier in the video, the pin, this pin of the original peg, will be replaced by the M10 bolt of the twin pegs. So what we need to do next is to take out this bolt, but this bolt is holding the brake pedal. So my recommendation is take out also this protection in order to see where the pin of the pump is going after you install back the screw. I've taken out the protection of the pump in order to be able to see this pin. Okay, this pin must go inside the pump. When we disconnect it from here, the pedal will go down, and there is a risk, if you don't remove this protection, that when you put it back, you will not see and the pin will not go inside. Now we need to remove this bolt of the pedal, but be careful that on the other side there is a nut, so you'll need a 14mm wrench to hold in place the nut while we take out the bolt, just like that. Yeah. Sorry, it's a 13mm. My mistake, sorry. Okay, it reached the end point. That means we can take it out with a set of pliers. Good, now the pedal fell down, okay? So because of this, you see, because of this pin must always go inside the pump. Be careful when you put it back. Now we need to take the twin peg, and please don't forget to add thread lock on these 3 screws. Okay, this one, the big one, and the eye. All right, so please place firstly the bushings. These bushes, this is the 9.3mm one, you put it here. Here is the longer bush. Please remember this longer bush on the right side with a shorter screw, because the swing arm will not touch. We will firstly put it through the frame, then add the 2 washers. Okay, and then we will go ahead and try to move into position. Okay, so now let's try to wiggle the big screw to go out. Right, okay, it came out. Good. Now what we need is the original foot peg with the spring inside it. Okay, very good. Now we have the thread lock here. We have the thread lock on the short screw. We just put it just a little bit here, and we try to put the pedal back. So I've put inside the pedal and inserted this pin. Now we need to take an Allen head, put the nut back on the other side, and keep it fixed with the help of the 13mm wrench, and start. Well guys, don't do it like me. Don't use the round head, because otherwise you will not be able to remove the wrench outside. Use this normal head, and let's try again. Yeah, but don't tighten it just yet. Again, let's make sure that this piston is here in the brake, the lever is in the brake piston, and put it back, the original KTM guard, which in fact holds down also in position the brake pedal. Now right behind the pegs, the brake have also this spring. Please don't forget to connect it here. Okay, it is the return spring of the brake pedal. Now what we need to do to finish up here? Firstly, we'll cut the zip ties that is holding the spring in place. Then we will torque to spec the big M10 screw, the M8 screw torqued to spec, and then please don't forget lastly to put these small screws, the securing ones, like I showed you in the presentation video here. Now guys, at the end, what we should have, let's make a recap. Now we should have the big bolt with thread lock on it, torqued to spec. and with the small, let me see, yes, with this small one attached to it, the small safety screw attached to it. We should have the M8 of the twin peg again secured with a small bolt here. Okay, this one does not allow the big one to go outside. Okay, we should have the pedal holding screw, which is the short one with a long bush, torqued to spec and thread locked. We should have the pedal in place and behind this protection to be sure that the rod is going inside the piston of the brake pump. Now guys, let's move on the other side and continue our installation. On the left side, firstly remove the motorcycle foot peg, okay? And this time I used not zip ties but a wire to decompress the spring. Then remove the bolt and nut, 30mm nut holding the shift gear and the shift gear lever, okay? Then we will put here the 9.3mm bush, the 9.3mm bush. It sits right there, and the smaller aluminum bush inside this groove here. We will use the provided screw, the longer screw. Okay, with the provided nut, which is shorter. And now let's put the peg at its position.
Hear me out, KTM 890 Adventure R owners. I don't know this about the 790 or the Norden, but for the 890 Adventure R, this is the situation. The bolt that should have been M8 by 65mm, it is not working because it touches the swing arm. So what I did, I trimmed it down to 50mm and used the provided nut, and it fitted perfectly. So remember, not 65, 50 is the correct dimension of the screw. The rest of the installation is basically absolutely the same torquing specs, the same thread lock use for the big screws, not for the small safety ones. For the small ones, 7 Newton meters. I think the twin pegs are a wonderful product. I'm super excited about them. I think it brings a lot of added value to us as off-road riders, and I will tell you all about it when I will go this year on the 21st of June in Bulgaria to make an awesome adventure. Stay tuned, follow me to catch this adventure, and until the next time, ride safe. Ciao.